Namandam, 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 namandam. Well, good morning, everyone out there on the internet, because there's nobody here. Welcome to our Dharma family service. Today is the Oakland Marathon, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, let's begin our service with Sutra chanting. And today we will chant Juseige, and I will be putting the words on the screen. Namandam, 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 namandam. Gagon chosegan hishimu jodo shigan fumanzok seifu joshogak gao muryoko fuidai seshu Fusai shobingu, seifu joshogak, gashi jobutsudo, myosho chojippo, kukyo mishomon, seifu joshogak, Ryokujin shonen, joe shubongyo, shigumu jodo, isho tenin shi, jinniki endai ko, fushomu saido, shoujo sankumyo, Kosai shuyakunan, kaihichi egen, meshi konmoan, heisoku sho akudo, tsudatsu zen shumon, koso jo manzok, iyoro jippo, Nichigatsu shujuki, tenko onpugen, ishukai hozo, kose kudoku ho, jōdai shuchu, seppo shishiku, kuyo isai butsu, Gusoku shutoku hon, ganne shitsu joman, tokui sangai yo, nyobutsu mugechi, tsudatsu mifusho, gangaku erik, toshi Isai shoson, shiganyakoka, daisen okando, koku shotenin, touchin myoke. Namandabu, 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 namandabu. Ganni shikudoku byodo se isai dohoten bodai shin ojo Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Namanda. Okay, next let's recite the three treasures, and that will be on the screen too. The three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Namanda. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us again. I'm doing this totally solo with the running festival and everything going on, or actually it's the Oakland Marathon this year. We figured not to have people come to church, and actually give me a chance. So give me a second here because I have lots going on. Let's do it like that. Oh. So one thing I realize is, wow, how much goes on behind the scenes that we're not even aware of really, necessarily, and doing this all by myself reminds me of the pandemic, but let's see, let me get this up so I can start following my script. Okay, Dharma Family Service, it's March 23rd, and it's the Oakland Marathon. So Jackson Street is open, but there is a lot of traffic. So we closed church. In years past, once the marathon happened on Hanamatsuri, and that was just a nightmare because it was really, we didn't start service for half hour, 45 minutes, I think, just because it was so hard for people to get here. It sounds quiet now, 10:15. When I got here at 8 o'clock this morning, streets were already closed. Things were already getting backed up. When I looked around 9 o'clock, it wasn't bad, and I kind of found myself thinking, oh no, what if we canceled for nothing? And then right at 10 o'clock, I could hear policemen on the bullhorn, right, telling people, turn left here, turn left, you have to go that way. And people were being diverted. I could see people running down Madison Street. So I think it was a good idea that we didn't have in-person service today. Gives you a break. If for people that come regularly, for the tech team and the host teams, also giving them a break. We're really, really lucky here at Buddhist Church of Oakland to have a dedicated tech team that come every week, pretty much, to run the Zoom and do the different slides and everything. So if you know who's on the tech team, please give them a big thanks. And host as well, to have with our host system, right, the whole own service teams doing the coffee and the refreshments and everything. That's a lot. It changes each month, but every week for each month for the host is a lot. So really appreciate it. Here's the map. So if there's kind of a letter I here down in the bottom right, and you can see the marathon isn't happening right where we are. I think actually we're closer to this thing. I think this is us. If you can see my mouse there, and because I saw them running on Madison Street. And so even though it's not right here, just maybe we can see some interconnectedness at work, right? One, or a butterfly flaps its wings somewhere, and that has profound impact around the world. Same here. You have a marathon and you close a few streets, and it has massive traffic impact. So the marathon gave me one idea for stuff to talk about. But then I also realized, not next week, in a couple of weeks, on Sunday, April 6th, we'll be having our Hanamatsuri service. And our guest speaker, I'll do a little plug here, is our very own Reverend Michael Endo. And so he will be our guest speaker in a couple of weeks for this service that is a celebration of Shakyamuni Buddha's birthday. So thinking about the marathon, thinking about Shakyamuni's life, I thought, let's see, got any other ideas? Oh, here's the marathon, right? So we have Hanamatsuri, we have the marathon. This is from the website. You may have noticed, if you've been in our Hondo, this is a picture looking not towards the Naijin, looking away from the Naijin, towards the doors, and you see some pictures there. And so we've had these pictures for years and years and years. They were dedicated, I think, in the late 70s or early 80s. And I thought, so Hanamatsuri, Buddha's life. Let me show you some a little bit closer. It's really hard to take pictures of these because of the reflection on the glass protecting them. But we see the birth of Shakyamuni there, and in the middle, I think everyone's excited. And on the right, I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Here's the next set of three. I'm going to talk about that first one. The one in the middle is, it's actually not Shakyamuni in a way, it's Siddhartha, or Siddhartha, really. And Siddhartha is the prince, and that's his father there on the king. And so in this middle picture, he has seen the four sights. He has realized there's more to life than the pleasure of a palace. And so he gets rid of his clothing and cuts his royal hair off and his jewelry and everything, and embarks on his spiritual quest. Right, I think, is when he is learning from a teacher and learning meditation. Now here on the right, these are the three that are closer to the windows, the outside windows. And on the left, he's been doing his ascetic practices, but you can see his ascetic friends in the back there, and the maiden, what's her name? Sujata, brings him, she thinks he's the deity of the tree, and so brings him some milk or yogurt. He's strengthened. There in the middle, he's engaging in meditation and begun this process of awakening. And you can see Mara is sending storms and temptations and warriors at him. But picture on the right, he has awakened. And then there are three more. I think the one on the left, he's deciding to preach. The one in the middle is something like do no harm. And the one on the right, I believe, is him preaching his Dharma. So the picture that I thought of with running festival, running, marathon. It's actually, I keep calling it the running festival. They were calling it running festival for a while, but now it's back, I think, to the Oakland Marathon. And thinking about running and sports. And so, think about Buddhism and sports. It's not one of the easiest topics for me to come up with because I'm not really into sports, watching or doing. I know a lot of people are, both of those. But do you remember one of those pictures? They're kind of maybe small to see, but look at this one. This one has Shakyamuni, or Siddhartha, still Prince Siddhartha, riding on a horse and doing archery. So that sent me looking, and I have this book called Gautama Buddha, a biography based on the most reliable texts by Hajime Nakamura. And this is a really interesting book. It's volume 1, actually. I've got a volume 2 also. It's translated from Japanese. An amazing translation job because just how much information is in here. And what Nakamura Sensei has done is compile different versions of Buddha's biography. And it should really be biographies because there are so many. And what he's trying to do, I think, is find the oldest layers that have the least amount of kind of mythical additions and hagiographical additions, trying to make Buddha into a saint, make Buddha maybe even kind of superhuman, right? And so this is an older book. I think Nakamura Sensei was in the middle of the 20th century, a lot of the work that he did. He looks at Pali sources, Sanskrit sources, Chinese sources, right? And really an interesting job looking at these various versions of Buddha's biography. And so I looked up the bit about the contest, or not contest, the archery kind of thing, and these, you know, Siddhartha was a prince, and he was a prince of a warrior caste. And so his father, not wanting him to go off in a spiritual direction, instead wanted him to become a great monarch, the next king. Right? And so let me do this. This is a tale of martial arts, or you know, some of the more athletic things that Siddhartha would have done. So while he, Siddhartha, or Siddhartha in Pali, was thus enjoying great happiness, there arose one day during a meeting of his relatives the following conversation. And this is from Nakamura's book, by the way. Siddhartha is living absorbed in enjoyment and is not learning any military skill at all. What would he do should war come? The king called the bodhisattva to him. Bodhisattva is bodhisattva in Pali, and so this text is the text is the Nidanakatta. So it's a Pali text about kind of biography of the Buddha, I believe, and already referring to Shakyamuni or Siddhartha as a bodhisattva, right? This kind of Buddha in training. So the king calls Siddhartha to him and says, "My dear child, your relatives are saying Siddhartha is not learning any military skill at all and is absorbed in enjoyment. What do you think you should do about this?" And Siddhartha says, "Father, there is no skill that I must learn. Have the drum beaten in the city to announce that I will show my skill. In 7 days from now, I will show my skill to the relatives." The king did so. The bodhisattva had assembled archers who could hit the target like lightning and archers who could hit a hair. And among the assembly of the people, he demonstrated to his relatives 12 kinds of skill that none of the other archers did. So the assembly of the relatives worried no longer. So archery, all kinds of military skills maybe, right? And this is what popped into my head when thinking about Buddha and sports, as I'm calling it, kind of sarcastically maybe, but you know, thinking about this running festival, and that's one of the things that popped into my mind that I could talk about today. And you know, actually, there's another version of this. That's maybe not what's happening in the pictures in our hondo. So this is a kind of a close-up, a detail from the picture back there, and there's Siddhartha, Prince Siddhartha or Siddhartha on the left, doing archery, right? But on the right side, who's the woman there? And the bottom says, Siddhartha wins Yasodhara, the contests. So this is another version of the story that's not in Nakamura's book. And so this story, I believe, is that there are various suitors for Yasodhara, or Yashodhara, I think, in Sanskrit. And Siddhartha here is engaging in a contest, trying to show that he's the most deserving of Yasodhara as a wife. And so she becomes his wife, and they have a child, Rahuda. And so, you know, different episodes may be coming together in this version of the biography. I'm not really sure. I think these pictures are from India or Sri Lanka. The style looks very Indian to me. And different versions of the stories. Right? And so one of the questions I had to ask myself as I was coming up with this talk, so what is the point? Right? And we could maybe find different answers to this. One, like I was saying, this book, Gautama Buddha, a biography based on the most reliable texts. So what does that mean, reliable? Right? What are we talking about here? We've seen some contradictions, where one version of the archery story is that Siddhartha and his father's family members are wondering what's going on with this kid who only knows pleasure. Will he be able to lead us in war, in battle? And then Siddhartha showing that he can do something that none of the most skilled archers in the kingdom, he's better. Right? And so we can see here, is that a reliable text? I'm not exactly sure. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not so sure. Like, I'm not going to read this to you, but this is from Nakamura's book, right? And so he's really trying to find. He's doing this kind of enterprise of a project of trying to find the historical Buddha beyond the myths, pre-myth, and it's interesting. And I think that that's one way we can approach Buddha's biography. But to me, it's not the only way. I'm kind of okay with myth. Myth doesn't mean fiction. Myth doesn't mean the lack of truth. Right? Myth points to something bigger. Myth points to maybe another dimension of reality. And as a Buddhist myself, as a Mahayana Buddhist, I feel like there's something bigger in all of this. Right? It's not just regular people. Maybe there was something really, really special about Gautama Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, Siddhartha. Right? And we can, I hope we can look to both, the kind of more historical versions, and then maybe also these more mythical versions or supernatural versions. And I like both. Imagine how boring Hanamatsuri would be. If we're going to be historical, then there's no baby Buddha walking and talking and that we can bathe, right? So should we get rid of all the myth and let's just get rid of all of it? Why? We don't have to get rid of all of it, right? And we can think about, what does this point to? I was looking at, we don't even have to only look at Buddha's life. We can look at his previous lives, the Jataka tales. And there's a whole bunch of Jataka tales. These are the stories of Buddha's past lives. Right? It said he's a bodhisattva or a bodhisattva, a Buddha in training. And traditionally, with a belief in reincarnation and a belief that this life is not the only one, and that's not necessarily a good thing, right? You might think, if I don't get it right in this one, I'll get it right in the next one. No, you have to start all over again. If I could remember what I know now in my next life, then yeah, maybe I could build on that. But in this understanding of reincarnation, we don't remember anything. Only Buddhas can remember their past lives. And so Shakyamuni too, or Siddhartha, when he's born as a prince, that's not the beginning of the story in a way. The story begins previously. And I read one story in the collection of Jataka tales that I have of when he was an elephant and encounters these people who had been exiled by a cruel king. And so the elephant tells them where they can find water and food, but then rushes in front of them and throws himself off the mountaintop so that they can use his body for food and also in some of his internal organs for to contain the water, carry the water. So interesting stories of the Shakyamuni or Siddhartha in his previous life, before being born as the prince, and still doing these practices. So another idea I thought of was, these practices? Remember last week we had Spring Higan, the equinox, and that's where we have the 6 paramitas, and I just left it here with Grandpa delivers pizza every Monday and Wednesday. You should watch last week. We changed things a little. I had some help from a little friend, but this is the one that Maya Lawrence came up with. Grandpa delivers pizza every Monday and Wednesday, and on the right are the 6 paramitas: giving, discipline, patience, effort, meditation, and wisdom. So that giving, that generosity is selfless giving. So stories like the elephant Jataka tale, this story of Siddhartha in a previous life as an elephant, when he's so compassionate and giving that he sacrifices his own life to help others. Now that's bodhisattva. That's someone training to be a Buddha. But thinking back to sports, and one way I think we can think of these 6 paramitas is, can we use these in our daily lives? Not necessarily for this grand spiritual quest, but more for helping us in our daily lives. And so I like to think of numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 as maybe good for sports. Discipline, patience, effort, and meditation. Okay, discipline. Technically, the discipline is actually the precepts, the monastic precepts. But here, maybe we can think of this discipline as taking things really seriously and trying one's best. Effort also, right? And to put in this effort for the sake of the team, for the sake of the game. right? Patience, because it doesn't come all at once. Got to be disciplined in your practice, right? And it takes a while, it takes time. And then meditation. I don't know how good you'd be at sports if you were sitting there meditating while the balls are whizzing around you or everyone else is running past you. But if we think of it maybe more as mindfulness, which is really kind of a stretch, but that's what we did last week with the pizza. So meditation, kind of awareness, right? Not getting caught in kind of tunnel vision, but having more of the big picture. Awareness of myself, but also awareness of what's going on around me. Remember, this is in terms of sports. Maybe wisdom could be seen in that sense too. Giving, yeah, we could see giving in there too, huh? Not so much giving the ball away to the other team. That's one aspect of sports, right, where it's a competition. So if you're too giving and you just throw the ball to the other team because you're so compassionate, you want them to win, you're probably not going to be on that team for very long. But you might, rather than me going for the shot all the time, I kind of have basketball in my head for some reason. There's running in there too, right? Rather than me going for the shot all the time, giving it to the person who's in the best position to take the shot, right? So rather than wanting the glory for myself with this selfless giving, right? Giving the opportunity to others for the sake of the team, right? Rather than for just myself. So that's all I got for the PowerPoint. Thank you, everyone. I'm not sure how this looks on the screen, if you see the Naijin or if you just see me, but it's been kind of fun to have this service all by myself. It's so quiet. And apparently the marathon has moved on. And so if you came now, you could probably get into the parking lot, but the doors are all locked, so don't come. We'll be open next week for our service. Let's see, do we have any announcements? Well, actually, before announcements, let's conclude the Dharma talk with Kansho. On this day of the Oakland Marathon and thinking ahead to Hanamatsuri, the birth of the Buddha, let us think of sports in our life, thinking about how, whether it's sports or whatever we do in our life, the 6 paramitas at this time also of Higan, the equinox, to incorporate them into our daily lives and also to say the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. So, let's just look real quick at the website. This is the Buddhist Church of Oakland website. And we have our virtual only one today. Next week we will have Dharma family service at 10 a.m. in person and online. Thursday, we have our Momijikai. We have been having more people coming for that. And then April 6th, that Sunday, we will be having Hanamatsuri. And study class on the following Saturday, April 12th. And then April 13th, we'll be having both our Pets Memorial and our April Shotsuki services. Those will be separate services, but we will be having those. And then I'm going away the following week so April 20th, Reverend Brian Nagata will be filling in. And then we do have our Stupa trip scheduled for April 27th. And all this stuff is on the website, BuddhistChurchofOakland.org. And so you can look there and click on the links to get more information for any of the special events. So I think this will conclude our service. Why don't we conclude with Kansho? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Take care. I can't wave and do this at the same time, can I? I think I can. Okay.